When you find a site that you're interested in developing out, it's absolutely critical at a very early stage that you establish what the GDV is, or gross development value. So essentially what the gross development value means is the amount of money that the site, when it was completed, would sell for. So if you, for instance, found a site that would take 4 houses, how much would those individual houses sell for, and as a combination times 4, what would that sell for? So it's really important that you establish that, because everything else is downstream of that in terms of working out whether you have a viable site. So let's just explore, first of all, we will talk about how we do that, and I'll show you our process and how we actually establish the value of a site. But before we do that, I just want to establish the principle of what a viable site looks like and what a non-viable site looks like. So if we look here at the viability, and we say, for instance, 4 houses, let's say we established that they are worth 400,000 each, and we'll show you how we establish that value, and therefore then we immediately take off our build profit, which on a development which we're just simply going to build out, has full planning permission, building control regulations, building warrant in Scotland, all satisfied. In other words, you buy it on the Friday and you're able to start building it out on the Monday, then you need to be making the build profit. And the build profit we recommend that you go for is 25% of gross development value. And there's 2 fundamental reasons why you do that. Property development by its nature can be risky. There are some costs that can come and surprise you, and so therefore you want to be able to mitigate that. But the second thing is that lenders are not comfortable unless you have a substantial profit margin, usually around about the 22-23%. So we always go for 25%. Because we actually recommend that you buy sites without planning permission, then we would expect you to share in that profit uplift. So taking it from the value of where the landowner owns the property, what its current value is, and I did a video a few weeks ago about that. You can I'll put a link up in the description there so that you can watch that video. But you have a baseline, and then you have the amount that, with planning permission, it becomes to the line that you purchase it with the full planning to make your build profit. So you've got that profit in between, within the sandwich, I suppose is the best way to describe it, and you share that with the landowner, because you've actually been responsible for increasing the value of their site, and so therefore you should be making a profit on that. So we're just talking about here a very simple equation, just the build profit in this example, and then let's assume that our costs are $1 million. In other words, that's everything. We've lumped everything together. We actually break the cost between development costs and the house build cost, but we've lumped that together for the purposes of this example. So all our costs together are £1 million, and therefore the land in this situation is going to be worth 200,000. And it's to establish that land value. That's why it's really important to establish what the GDV is. If we look at a similar example, but this is where we are not going to have a profitable situation. Our costs in this case are 1.24 million, and therefore we actually end up with a negative value in land, and so therefore this is not a viable proposition. Let's look at how we establish that land valuation. So the first thing is that we are going to look for some comparables in the area, and this incidentally is what surveyors will do, but you need to do it for yourself, and it's really important that you do this for yourself and you understand how to work this out. So what you need to do is you need to find 3 lots of comparables. We're looking at recently sold prices, we're looking at current asking prices, and then we are looking for new build, because you're actually going to build new houses. They do tend to have a premium, so you want to have a look at what the values are in your area. Now sometimes that can be a little bit difficult because there might be nothing quite near you that is being built, so you do have to go a little bit further afield and you have to make an assessment. And all of this is an assessment, but you're trying to back it up with as much data as possible. Let's assume that we found a site and we're interested in this site here. It seems quite a reasonable site, and it's near existing housing stock, which looks fairly new build houses. This looks like they're older properties here. So it looks like we would have a reasonable opportunity of finding at least some nearby comparables. And so what the first thing we would want to do is we want to establish what the postcode is of that, and you will have already done that if you're already looking at the property. We'll get back to the video in just a moment. If you're really serious about creating a property development business, then I would suggest that the next logical step for you would be to get a copy of my book, You a Property Developer. Simply go to the website of the same name, youapropertydeveloper.com. I'm going to cover the cost of the book. All I'm going to ask is that you contribute to the cost of the postage and packaging. Head over to youapropertydeveloper.com and pick up a copy now. So what we next do is we're going to go over to Rightmove, and we're going to look for properties in that particular area. So if I just bring this across here, this is bringing us to Rightmove, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the postcode for that area. And what we found is that there's actually not an awful lot of data, our current data for the area, so we're just going to widen the area. So let's first of all look up to a mile away and see if there's anything there. What sort of house, because what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at the type of house that you are likely to build there. Now, in all honesty, for that particular development, because it's quite a large one, we're going to have a mixture of houses. So that could be like kind of an issue, because well, it's not an issue, but what we'd need to do is we'd have to take a much broader section of that. But if you're just starting out in development, you're probably only looking at a small site. And when I say small site, anything from 1 to 9 houses if you're in England, and up to 5 houses if you are in Scotland. And the reason for that is that you then kick into social housing, and you kind of don't want that. Certainly social housing requirements after those numbers, and you kind of don't want to be doing that certainly for your first development until you've got a bit of experience behind you. So when we look around here, we've got various house prices. So we've got larger houses here, we've got smaller houses here. So let's just take this one here. These are fairly recently sold, November 2024. November 2024. We can see that this is basically a 3-bedroom, but it's semi-detached. This is a larger property, which is detached, 4 bedrooms. So we're looking there around about the 400,000. So what we would do is we would take that particular house. This is a recently sold house. We can have a quick flick through just to see what state the house is in. Looks fairly reasonable. Yeah, it's not like a renovation project, it's a move-in. So this is a reasonable amount. And so what we want to do is, key here is what we're trying to establish is the pounds per square metre. And so if we look back to our spreadsheet, what we're going to do is we're going to take this postcode here, and we're going to put in the valuation. So we'll take the postcode, which is this one here. In fact, we'll take the whole address, and what we'll do is just copy that over. So we're looking what it sold for, 400,000, 407, we won't argue about that. So we'll put the 407,000 in here, or the 400,000 should I say. All right, and then what we're going to do is that we are going to work out the floor area. So often with Rightmove, it's kind of good because they will have a floor plan there, and so we kind of want to look for the floor plan. Sometimes that's within the document. So here we are, the floor plan, and it will often give you the square meterage. Now in this situation it hasn't, so I'll just give you an example of one where it does, and then I'll show you how you essentially solve that problem. So I'm just bringing up another one here. So here's another property in the area. It's a much smaller property, to be honest, and we can see here that it's got 35 square meters, 38 square meters. So we now know what the total square meterage is. However, in this situation we don't know that, and so what we need to do is we go and look at the energy performance certificate. And so we actually have, this is part of our program that our students use in order to establish this. This is a multi-program which determines the value of houses, how much it costs to build your house in the area, and does the whole viability assessment. So, but this is just a very small part of it. So within England, it's one agency with England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and in Scotland they have a separate one. And so what I'm able to do here is I am able to search the energy performance certificate, and so what I'm able to do that is by postcode. And then this gives us a list of the properties. This particular one was number 32, so it's not on this page. We're going to look for that. So we've got 32, and what we want to do is just download the PDF. And so we can see from the PDF that it's 150 square meters for this particular site. So that then we would enter the 154 there. And what we're coming out is the pounds per square meter in this area is 2,597. So we would do this for recently sold. We would take three variables. We would do the same for currently new build prices and for current asking prices. And again, all this information is going to be available within Zoopla. So if we go back here, you can see house prices, sold prices, to buy. So this is new properties for sale and new homes for sale. So for instance, we've got new homes here. We put in that postcode again. I'm just going to put in the postcode for that one that we actually found to see what's available in that area. And again, there's nothing immediately in that area, so let's go within a mile, see if there's anything. Search for properties, and it's found one. So let's just take this a bit further afield. Let's take this to 3, and we've got some 3 here. And if we look at this, there's some various properties for sale there. This seems like a higher end one, but this seems like a fairly bog standard. I would say it's probably not as expensive. It's not as grand as the one that we did find that was on the market. But this is a 5-bedroom house. It's 364,000. So now let's have a look at the floor plan, if there is here. And part of the problem sometimes with new developments is that they don't actually give you the square meterage, so this is a bit more difficult. And what you would do in this situation, it will usually have the room sizes. Of course, you can actually call up the developer themselves and actually ask them, or the agent. So you've got the room sizes here, so it's really just a case of taking the floor plan and then working out the sizes. So essentially what you're looking to do is to find out what the distance is from there. That would give you then, because this is a 2-story house, so you would find out what the internal square meterage is for the internal area, and then you would, because it's a 2-story house, you would double it. Now in this situation it's got a garage, so you would be wanting to take that out of the built area, because it tends to not have a massive value or impact on the house. So you'll be able to work that out by taking those measurements and work out that. And then essentially what you're doing is that, having filled out all of this, the Zoopla thing is not relevant any longer. They've stopped providing that service. You're going to come out with a figure across here, and then essentially what you're going to do is make a judgment on that. When you look at a cross section of what the valuations are, that will give you an aggregate amount. So it's not a completely strictly average. You do need to make a bit of a judgment here. So you might find, for instance, that the new build, current recently sold prices, and let's say that the asking prices are roundabout, in this example, say 2,600. You might find that the new builds is 3,000. So I wouldn't be taking the 3,000. I'd be taking somewhere between the 2,600 and 3,000. So probably somewhere around 2,728. I would be on the cautious side, in all honesty, rather than trying to over egg it. And one of the big mistakes that a lot of new property developers make is that they get fall in love with a site, and they put an awful lot of effort into it, and they try and make the figures work. That's a very, very dangerous proposition. You need to walk away from it. So don't get emotionally attached to a site just because you've put so much work into it and you want to try and make it work, because that's when you make serious mistakes. And that's kind of why our coaching program is really valuable. Anyway, enough about that. If this is something that you're interested in seriously pursuing, property development, and you would like to maybe continue the journey from YouTube into a bit more formal setting, we do run a free training every month. All we ask is a £99 deposit. That's just to make sure that you show up, because what we don't want is the people who basically register for everything and show up for nothing. So it's just for serious people who are interested in property development. You'll find full details on that at propertydevelopmentuk.com. That's propertydevelopmentuk.com. As I say, we run them about every month. It's a 4-hour training, and we go through the process of finding land. We talk a little bit more about how you actually value up a site as well. We talk about the structure of how you should structure your property development business, and just as importantly, how you fund it, although actually finding your deal first is more important than the funding. So if that interests you, go to propertydevelopmentuk.com, and I hope to see you on one of those particular trainings. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. There's lots of content, well over 300 videos now and counting. And if you like this video, please give us a like as well, and don't forget to share. Thank you for taking the time out to watch this. It's been a bit longer than normal video, but I hope you've kind of found this useful, and I really would welcome any comments that you have or any questions you have if you put them in the description below. I'm happy to engage with you. Take care. Again, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.